Hello, everybody. This is Michael. Welcome to Tuesday's Tips. Today's topic is on test taking. We're going to be looking at strategies to attack multiple choice questions. All right, so my name is Michael. I'm a learning specialist, and I help students with a whole bunch of things. I'm housed in the educational support areas of the college, and that's what I do. I help students be successful. And one of the things I help the students be successful with is multiple choice questions and strategies how to do this. So this is one of the things I'm pretty passionate about. Special shout out to Callie and the First Year Experience for sponsoring this and supporting us and doing the marketing for this workshop series. All right, let's get to some content. So here's our quick agenda. We're going to break down MCQs. We're going to give you 2 key rules of MCQs, things to keep in mind, 1 key study tip that I think is really important, and some pointed tips on attacking these MCQs. All right, so first of all, information, right? Got to start with some base information here. There are key parts of a multiple choice question, right? This is the STEM, right? This is what the question, right? This is what this asking is called the STEM. And then we have the options, A, B, C, or D, or sometimes E. And then we have distractors. These are things that are trying to say, hey, I'm wrong. Please pick me, though, right? They're trying to distract you. And then you have the answer. So that's where you're at, looking at the STEM, the options, the distractors, and the answer. And you're usually only looking for that one answer, right? But I want to emphasize this. You need to understand what kind of answer you're actually looking for. When you have these options, right, there's actually 3 different types of answers you might be looking for. The correct answer, the best answer, or sometimes multiple correct answers. So let's break those down a little bit. So the types of answers, right? The correct answer. This is the right one, everything else is wrong. This is right, everything else is wrong. You're looking for the correct answer. You might also be looking for what we call the best answer. The answer is the best among all the others, right? So keywords, most important, essential, a priority, right? That says you're not looking for the correct one, you're looking for the most important one, or the essential one, or the priority one, or the best answer. That's what you're looking for, okay? You're looking for the best one. All right, now, one of the things to keep in mind, one of the simple ways to find the best answers, think about safety, right? Safety trumps all. No one's going to put you in a question that's going to put you in a dangerous situation, right? Safety trumps all. So when you're trying to figure out which one's best, which one's the most important, if it's a safety issue, the safety thing has to be the correct answer. The other thing is multiple correct answers. These are for questions that are like select all apply, SATAs. Now, this is going to be approached differently, and that's a different workshop and a different video. But that's something to be aware of. Occasionally you have to select all that apply. Sometimes you're looking for multiple types of questions. We'll approach those, talk about those differently. So the other rule I'll tell you is know your boundaries. The key to your boundary here is based on the information provided in your expected knowledge. Those are 2 things to keep in mind about your boundaries, right? So when we're thinking about a test, right, we're looking at one of these stems, right? The information provided is the information provided in the STEM or the question, not extra information. You're just looking at what's there, right? Nothing else. You're not looking at how question 2 relates to question 4. You're just looking at that one specific question that you're focused on. That's the essential information that's provided. And the other piece of this, right, is your expected knowledge, right? This is what you're being tested on. This is what the test's on. This is what you're being tested on, what you can recall this information and what you expect to know for that test, and only that test, right? So your expected knowledge is pretty limited. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but it's only within the boundaries of that test to keep in mind, right? Now, here's a tip about your expected knowledge, right? Students very often say, what do I study, Michael? There's so much information, and there is. But you can narrow that down a little bit. So what you want to do is look at your book, lecture notes, syllabus, and other materials you have in terms of these things. You want to look for things that say learning outcomes, learning objectives, learning checks, learning points, course objectives, which are also on the syllabus. And you want to look at those. These are key areas that you're going to be tested on. This is areas that you're going to need to study, right? Now, I will note that the syllabus covers the entire course, right? The course objectives covers the entire course. So it's really useful when you have that comprehensive final exam to study. But you got to make sure it's sectioned properly when you're studying for like maybe exam 1 or exam 2 or exam 3, right? So keep that in mind too. All right, so keep those two rules in mind. Understanding what type of answer you're looking for, the correct answer, the best answer, or multiple answers, and knowing your boundaries, focusing on the information provided in the STEM and your expected knowledge. That's what you need to focus on, right? So one of the first things you want to do when you sit down and take a multiple choice question, right? And you look at that question, is calm your mind and body, right? At some point, you might have to do this with each question because, like, you might be good or comfortable with question one, then you get to question two, then question three hits you, and you get stressed out and you're full of anxiety again. You need to calm your mind and body down so you can bring your rational mind to play here. Okay. Then you want to read the question. Now, and then you want to reread and note the key words and phrases, right? You want to ask yourself, what is the question really asking, right? And use it in your own words, right? Ask yourself what type of answer you're looking for, correct, best, or multiple, right? Use notes paper, if permitted, to note those keywords or phrases. Get some words down so you don't have to like necessarily think about everything. Just get them down on the page a little bit to help you process things. And then try to brainstorm possible answers before you look at your options. So if you can, right, cover up those answers, or cover up the A, B, C, and D, A, B, and C, right? Cover those up and say, what are the answers that I can think of that come to mind when I'm trying to answer this question? Cover those up, right? Because keep in mind that you have you have 4 or 5 options, and most of them are distractors, and it's very easy for us to latch on to something, right? And say, this is the answer. Well, it's trying to trick us, right? So you want to try to brainstorm possible answers before you look at the options, right? And then read every option. Read every single one that's available to you. Mark your answer. Now, if you're not 100% sure, you got to move into the PO approach, okay? So the PO approach, right? Good old Edgar Allan, here. It's not about that. What you want to do is the process of elimination. You want to rule out wrong answers, right? The goal of poll is help you improve your odds of taking an educated guess, not just taking a guess, an educated guess, right? Because think about this: 1 in 5 versus 1 in 4 versus 1 in 3 versus 1 in 2. The more you can narrow down your guess, the better your chances are getting the right answer, right? So now again, if permitted, you can use a sheet of paper, A, B, C, or D, and mark your first gut instinct, right? Just make a little note by this one. This is the first one. I thought it was A. The first time I read this, I thought it was A, right? But then connect an analysis of all those options. Circle absolute words in the options. Look for answers that are grammatically correct. Look for positive versus negative wording, okay? So think of the prime example I used to use with this one is something that's affordable or cheap, right? If I buy my wife a necklace and I say, hey, sweetheart, I got you a very cheap necklace versus I got you something that was very affordable, affordable is better. Most answers tend to have positive wording behind those two. You want to narrow down your options, and figure it out. And if you don't know, make an educated guess of what's left on and move on, right? You can't spend all your time just on one question, problem solving. Sometimes you have to take that educated guess and move on. Okay, so a final question and a final tip. What is the answer to this question? Is it A, B, C, or D? It is B, the best answer, right? So a final tip I will give you here, take a moment and put the answer back in and reread this down. Doing this will slow you down and help your mental processes focus on if you're really answering the question well, and you make sure the answer sounds right. Because if you thought this was A, you didn't stick the answer back in. Because when selecting your answer, you are looking for the correct answer to the question based on the information provided in your expected knowledge. That's not right. You're not going to make a grammar mistake on the correct answer. All right. The only grammar correct mistakes will be in the wrong answer. So keep that in mind too. So always put that back in and try to focus a little bit more. All right, folks. Again, my name is Michael. I'm a learning specialist. But one of the things I help students do is help students with test taking techniques. So if you're taking a test and you want to figure out some strategies, reach out. I'm in educational support services. And please tell us what you thought. Hopefully you found something useful in this video. Tell us the links in the chat and in the description. give us a suggestion what you want for future assignments here, or future projects here, future ideas. Let us know what you think. And thanks for joining us for Tuesday Tips, and we'll see you next Tuesday.